In 1902, engineer Willis Carrier was working as the head of the engineering department of tests at the American Buffalo Forge Company, a company that can be considered the largest company to manufacture heating devices, drilling machines, and steam engines in the world at that time. In the same year, a printing company called Sackett and Wilhelms wrote to the company where Willis worked, asking them for a solution to adjust the humidity and air temperatures because not controlling them creates a huge financial loss for them. And the management of the Buffalo Forge Company entrusted the task to Carrier. So he began designing a device that could push air into the place where the paper was stored through tubes. Cool air resulted from the operation, which was able to absorb heat from the place where the paper is stored. And thus the problem of humidity in the printing company is over. And this was simply the idea of inventing the first air conditioner in history. And then Willis Carrier kept developing his idea until he presented it to the US government to obtain a patent for the invention of the air conditioner number 808897 in 1906. What happened after that, and what is the story of Carrier Company, the air conditioner's monopoly which was founded after that? And how did this company affect the American and global economy? After Carrier invented the air conditioner and got the patent, Buffalo Forge opened a production line for air conditioners and appointed Willis as head of this division. But with the beginning of World War I in 1914, and due to great economic pressures, Buffalo made the dumbest move in its history, which was closing the air conditioning department. Carrier resigned as soon as the department was closed and began establishing the first air conditioning company in the world in 1915, accompanied by 6 engineers who were working with him in Buffalo, and he named it Carrier Engineering. After opening his company, Carrier obtained many contracts for the manufacture of air conditioners, to the point that only a year after the founding of the company, Carrier signed 40 contracts to manufacture air conditioners in New Jersey only. And because of the great demand for its products, Carrier decided to expand and provided services to government institutions, and in the year 1928, the company signed the most important contract in its career, which is a contract for the manufacture and maintenance of air conditioners for the benefit of the House of Representatives and the Senate in the United States. And in the same year, the company launched the first home air conditioner and named it the Weathermaker, but its price was $1,500, which was a very high price at that time. The blow that almost destroyed the company was in 1929 when Wall Street collapsed and the Great Depression occurred in 1930, and companies began to declare bankruptcy. But Carrier did not wait until he faced the same fate and traveled to Japan, where he opened branches for his company there, in addition to South Korea, which was then under Japanese occupation, and this contributed to saving the company from the inevitable fate of bankruptcy. After that, Willis opened new branches of the company in several US states and moved the company's headquarters to New York City, where he was able to obtain new contracts to manufacture air conditioners for theaters and cinemas. Carrier kept thinking about a new cooling technology that would restore the company's former glory until he was able to develop a new cooling system dedicated to central cooling for skyscrapers. In 1950, Willis Carrier's journey ends and he dies in New York at the age of 74. Of course, here comes an important question. What is the fate of Carrier Corporation after his death? Willis Carrier passed away without an heir, but fortunately, his associates were able to manage and maintain this gigantic entity. In the 50s, after the death of Carrier, the company revived the home air conditioning project, but this time they reduced the price of the product, which achieved unparalleled success. And in 1979, UTC acquired Carrier in a deal that shook the United States at the time. In 1999, a joint venture was established between Carrier Corporation and the Japanese Toshiba Corporation. This cooperation contributed to raising the company's total profits to reach $200 million. In the year 2000, the profits of Carrier Corporation reached record numbers of $8 billion, and it started with the help of its parent company, UTC, to acquire other companies like Specialty Equipment and Lind. At that time, Carrier was the largest subsidiary of the UTC group, and with the wave of American companies preparing to move their factories abroad in 2016 due to the large tax packages that were approved during the Obama era and were supposed to be implemented after Trump took office, Carrier has agreed with the Mexican government to move some of its factories there, but Trump decided to stop the tax packages so that these companies do not leave America. He also granted a set of tax privileges in exchange for not leaving. And in the year 2019, a giant merger occurred between UTC and Raytheon. The volume of this merger reached $121 billion. And then UTC began to focus more on the manufacture of weapons until a separation occurred between it and Carrier on April 3rd, 2020. Carrier's revenue in 2020 reached $17.6 billion, and this was despite the COVID-19 pandemic that destroyed the global economy. Carrier's workforce has reached 53,000 employees in more than 160 countries. Finally, we must thank engineer Willis Carrier for the cooling technology he invented. Without it, there would not have been many special technologies that are involved in the manufacture of all the things that exist in our time, such as computers and phones. If you enjoyed the video even a little bit, don't hesitate to interact with us by subscribing and liking the video. And why not pass it to your friends also? See you in the next video.